Welcome to the Business Renovator, where we work on sales, marketing, and mindset. And often we have a guest. And today I'm excited to bring on a buddy of mine, Brett Williams, who's a specialist in the LinkedIn space. And you're going to learn a lot more about that from him. What I would like to do, though, is start with a quote from my buddy Brian Monahan and his book. And today's quote that I selected is, To be a great champion, you must believe you are the best. If you're not, pretend until you are. Muhammad Ali. Remember, he used to float like a butterfly and sting like a bee. And when he first came into the television marketplace and people could see them, they thought he was really arrogant. And later on in life, they saw that what he was saying was his mantra, his declaration, his affirmation. Brian's take on that, he says, float like a butterfly, sting like a bee, wasn't a silly phrase for Ali. He pretended his mantra was true, and it became his reality. It's kind of like this internal question of what came first, the chicken or the egg? Except there's no mystery when it comes to Ali. I'm sure pretending came first. Pretend to delight your customers daily. So whether it's delighting your customers daily, or if it's moving yourself to your ideal future best, see yourself as if you're already in it. If you're writing an affirmation or a declaration, there's 3 Ps that you need to use to construct them. First person, present tense, and positive. And then to say it over and over and over again. Not saying it so it's just route, saying it so there's an emotional charge, so that it moves you towards the person you'd love to become, your ideal you, your best you. So on that note, let's bring on our wonderful guest. As soon as I click on the right part, he'll be right here. He's sitting there waiting for me to do the right thing. So I met him through Emerging Sales Winners, which started way back when the pandemic did. So Dale Carnegie wrote some things like, when life serves you lemons, make lemonade. So some of the lemonade that we were able to make was new connections with new people. If it hadn't have been for Jeffrey Gitomer and his Emerging Sales Winners, Brett and I would have never met. So Brett is actually the CEO of Leading Linked. He's a driven self-starter who is constantly seeking to better himself and help those around him grow. As the late, great Zig Ziglar said, you can have everything in life you ever wanted if you just help enough people get what they want. Welcome, Brett.
Thanks for having me, Phil. I appreciate it. It's this good times.
I'm glad you were able to fit us into your hectic schedule. I know you've been working pretty long days.
I have, but that's okay. That's just part of the grind that we're in. That's part of the joy of it. I get the opportunity to work long days, so I'm grateful for it.
And where are you located?
Yeah, so I'm in Charlotte, North Carolina. I'm just towards just outside of Charlotte, North Carolina, really.
So you don't get much snow down there, right?
No, we've been seeing. I know you all have been seeing some snow, but I think yesterday it was around 80. The day before, I think it got all the way down to 75. So I think, some people were pulling out their sweaters.
And up here, we'd be taking them off.
Exactly.
Boy,
yeah, I have some friends out in the Phoenix, Arizona market, and they were telling me that it got down to 65 and they were considering cutting on the heat in their house.
Yeah. Wow. How we adapt to what we have, right?
It really is. Yep.
And we are getting a little bit more snow here today as I look out my office windows, but that's the way it is. So
oh yeah.
If we want an in-depth weather report, we can go to Google and talk about that. What I really wanted to do is get to find out a little bit more about you. You're married, have a young family?
I do. Yeah. I'm married to an amazing wife and mom. She somehow manages to raise 2 kids and me. And so I'm very blessed by that. I've got a 3-year-old boy and a 1-year-old girl. I'm sorry. I think I'm supposed to say she's 16 months or something like that. So I think that's the proper saying, but yeah, no, it's been very interesting the past couple of months with young kids, but we've made it work. And I tell people they are both the hardest thing I've ever done and the biggest blessing.
Yeah, no doubt. Right.
Yep.
No doubt. I had a a niece who said something, and all the years I've seen new people come into the world from family members. After she gave birth to their child, she says, "Oh my gosh, we've created a human being." And I go, "Wow, I never thought of it." I mean, that's obvious, right? But to have somebody declare that was pretty fantastic.
There is that moment. I remember that moment very keenly of they handed me my son and I thought, oh my God, what have I done now?
And then so you did it again.
Yes. Yeah. Then we did it again. Yeah. But no, it's been very interesting. You know, we're building a business and working together and figuring out the whole quarantine situation. So it's been fun as a family with toddlers.
So that's a great segue. So tell us about building your business.
Yeah. So, like you said, I'm the CEO and co-founder of Leading Linked. We're a specialty LinkedIn marketing agency. We specialize in helping B2B companies establish the right types of presence to support their sales team and make sure that they are giving the right backing, if you will, of their sales team's presence on LinkedIn. So that's where we focus a lot around. We do things outside of LinkedIn, like helping with outbound strategy and marketing automation and all that. But we really specialize on content marketing and advertising for LinkedIn. And we made a shift from helping just kind of a myriad of different businesses across a lot of platforms whenever the pandemic hit. I mean, the pandemic hit and we saw a lot of people hurting, and we had some success on LinkedIn and saw that there was some opportunity to really help people there. And so that's why we decided to make the shift, and we've really enjoyed it. I mean, we've gone deep on LinkedIn and people say it's a gold mine, but if you don't know how to mine gold properly, you just spend a lot of time beating your head against a wall.
You're familiar with the book, Think and Grow Rich?
Oh, yes.
And there's a story about gold in there, right? Do you recall that?
3 feet from gold.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
that's there's a follow-up book I believe that somebody wrote called 3 Feet from Gold.
Yeah, there could be a lot of offshoots from that. It was written about a decade ago. No, century ago. Pardon me. A decade's only 10 century. And I can't remember the miner's name that sold everything when he was 3 feet from gold. Somebody else. Actually, it's a really good parallel to what I understand what your business is, if I've got this right, is that the fellow whose name I can't remember, it's not Darwin, but it's something like that. Anyway, he spent all his money and he invested everything because he heard about gold mining, and he went after a vein of gold, and he did okay, made some money, but he put that back into finding the rest of the vein. But he failed. So he ran out of money and he sold his land in order to get and his claim to somebody else who didn't know anything about mining, but they knew that geologists knew, or people like that. So they hired somebody, just like the segue is, if you hire the right person, they can help you find the opportunity. So you could be that 3 foot from gold company organization that helps somebody find the vein again. So maybe we should talk about that. So how do you help people find their 3 feet from gold opportunity shift?
Firstly, it sounds like I may need to get an invoice from you for an amazing marketing strategy, because that's,
no problem.
I'd never thought about that. Exactly. And that's, wow, you just set my mind on a whole different course, and that's good stuff. The 3 feet from gold philosophy, really, when it comes to LinkedIn, is realizing what LinkedIn is and what it's not. And I think a lot of the gap that we see is a lot of companies just don't even know where to start. And so that's, you've got to build the proper foundation, and you can't treat it like any other social platform, because it's not. It's people come to LinkedIn in a very specific state of mind. And the way I describe LinkedIn is it's very top of funnel. You're approaching an audience that they're not on LinkedIn thinking, what's the new SaaS product I can buy? Or, what new company can I try to bring into my business to complicate things? Because that's often the way that prospects think. And so when you're on LinkedIn, it really starts with just the baseline foundation of who it is you're trying to reach, what you're trying to accomplish with them, and how can you provide value and build your credibility and authority with them. And if you're doing that effectively, then you've got that foundation in place. Then it's just a matter of how do we scale that, and how do we make sure that your sales team is equipped to have what they need to interact and nurture relationships. Because if you're starting at the top of funnel, you're not going to have people that are ready to convert and buy. Typically, I mean, every once in a while, but typically you're not going to have somebody that's going to be ready to convert and buy. So it's about building your authority, building your presence, and then having the right systems and automation in place. And for me, automation, and this, I tend to be a little bit more old school than some people that are of my generation, but systems and automation should be a combination of two pieces. There should be automation to make it scalable and make your productivity as high as it possibly can be. But if you don't have the human touch in the automation, you're wasting your time, in my opinion, because we as a species I don't think we'll ever get past needing that human touch for B2B style transactions. So that's where a lot of it lays, is making sure you've got the right systems, that you're putting out the right content, you're reaching the right people, and that your sales team is in the proper mindset and knows how to handle LinkedIn as a whole.
Do you think there's a way to franchise this? And I don't mean franchise in the sense of buying a franchise that we, and then just replicating that. What I mean is using that franchise model. Michael Gerber, in his book, E-Myth Revisited, talks about systematizing and franchising. And as a business coach and as a business renovator, one of the things we work on with our clients is to help them do what you've said, not on LinkedIn specifically, but I'm really looking forward to hearing what your answer is to this, is in the whole operation of their business, is how can they franchise it so that if they can actually leave the business, go to North Carolina, hang out with you at their favorite place where you want to take them, and their business is running whether they're there or not. That's what I mean by franchising. So if they wanted to franchise it and sell more models and replicate it, absolutely go ahead. But basically, it's putting in the systems, the franchising side of it, so it runs systematically. Did I hear you say that you can help people do that with their LinkedIn marketing strategies? Is that what I heard?
It's really with their marketing strategy as a whole.
Okay.
And that's the goal, is to have, and it's not even just marketing anymore, because in today's environment, it's sales and marketing. And I don't say that, the problem with it is sales and marketing is almost a cliche term. But what really happens is when you start to get the unity between sales and marketing and have effective messaging that is systematized and to some degree automated, then what you do is you position yourself and your company where it's not all on you, where it's not, am I clicking the button today in order to move my company forward? It's, you can take that time away. You can build the systems and the processes in place that are producing long-term. And none of it's what you have these people that talk about, ongoing, completely passive income. None of it's completely passive, but by systematizing and honing in, and I mean, this probably has to do with two things. My desire to do this. Number one, my background, I was actually a telecommunications engineer prior to marketing. So network engineering, all that stuff, it's just kind of how my brain works. And then the second piece is I got a Lean Six Sigma certification. So I am how do we get this system in place and how do we make it run as efficiently as possible person? And so we build that into all of the marketing, whether it's the email piece, the LinkedIn piece. I mean, if you're in the B2B space and you're doing a whole lot on some of the other platforms, you're just going to have challenges, and your audience may be there, but they just tend to be in a different mindset. But when you go onto LinkedIn, people are in that professional mindset. So you're capturing them when they're in the right mindset to move the ball down the field.
Right. So in my world, we call it, there's a buyer's journey, and
Yes.
we need to get in alignment with them and provide them content and information that helps educate them, keeps them engaged, so that when they have the need, the want, the desire to make a change, we're top of mind, one of a few that they would consider participating in terms of business opportunities. It sounds like you're saying the same thing with slightly different lingo.
Oh yeah, no, we use buyer's journey a lot.
Okay, good.
Content strategy, it's, our piece is making sure that you have content that's consistently being produced, and not that you're having to constantly produce content, but content that's being consistently produced for each stage of that buyer's journey, because you just never know where somebody's at when they come into your arena, and you want to make sure that. I think the last stat that I saw was a 2017 study that LinkedIn did that said that the average corporate buyer will consume 10 pieces of content before they make a purchasing decision. And so what I always say is, do you own that content, or does your competitor own that content? Because whoever does at the end of that buyer's journey is the one with the authority.
Yeah, it's in the follow-up is where the opportunity or the dough is, right?
Exactly.
Totally. Whether it's LinkedIn or any other marketing strategy. So you and I agree about that totally. Do you have a success story, a win that you're really proud of that as a result of engaging with somebody, or they engaged with you, they started at ground zero and now are wherever they are?
Yeah, so I mean, we've worked with in a lot of different spaces. I do have most of our clients. We have specific NDAs in place, or non-disclosure agreements. But from a conceptual standpoint, I can tell you about one that's about, while being vague. Is we did have one client who was in the process of launching some new educational and training tools that were the market right now is just ripe for. I'll say that. And they went from an initial opt-in rate of less than 10 opt-ins to their educational tools initially, to well over an opt-in rate of 500 inside of a 72-hour period, and having 500 opt-ins that then began that buyer's journey and started converting into money. And by seeing that happening, they actually filled up their entire initial webinar and had to then convert and offer a second webinar of the same thing, because they had so much interest that they weren't there was a technological challenge. Their tech stack could only support 500 people in a single webinar, so they actually had to schedule a second one. And it was just all about changing a little bit of the messaging for how they were presenting it, and that was all organic. There was no ad spend behind that.
That's awesome. Yeah, what I believe in a marketing formula that basically is we have to interrupt, engage, educate, and then there's some kind of call to action or offer. And we have to have something good to say it well, and say it frequently. Right?
Exactly.
Sounds like you did all of that.
We did. We helped her do that.
If we were to try and find you an ideal client, what would we be looking for you?
Yeah, so we the primary clients that we serve are B2B companies that tend to be doing somewhere between $10 and $100 million a year. Now, that's a pretty wide range, but the primary factor is whether or not they have their contract basis, or whatever that is that they are offering, has a higher lifetime value. So that's, each customer is obviously, and I've gone over this multiple times, is each customer has a specific value to a business, and so if a customer value is not really over about $15,000, the investment in LinkedIn that it really takes to build out from a done for you standpoint doesn't make sense. And that's whether it's ads or content or the systems. So that's where we really specialize. But it's got to be B2B, really, in the LinkedIn industry. There are business cases for higher education and for recruiting, but if somebody came to me and said they really wanted me to help them, I would be happy to in either of those spaces. But I can't say it's somewhere where we've worked before.
Right. So it doesn't sound like you're particularly you don't have a particular market segment like healthcare, chiropractors, dentists, or plumbers, electricians, or contractors. What I think I heard was, as long as they have a lifetime value of about $15,000 annually. Is that right?
For a new customer, yeah.
Yeah, for a new customer. It doesn't matter what the business is. You can help them with their marketing message, leveraging things like LinkedIn.
Exactly.
Well, some experts would say, no, you need to niche. But I guess
There's no
niching isn't a niching isn't a terrible thing, but it's how you define a niche, right?
Exactly. I was saying, there's my niche. It's LinkedIn. So that's where we have certain segments that we do outreach to, that we're working on. But what we generally find is that there's just a lot of people a lot of companies that aren't sure how to use LinkedIn effectively. So we make ourselves generally available to most of them. Now, one of the things that we're in the process of launching, and we'll launch early next year, is a group coaching program for people who it doesn't make sense for them to engage us for us doing the services for them, but they want to learn LinkedIn and learn how to leverage. It's really for solopreneurs, consultants, and maybe small agency owners or smaller B2B business owners that just aren't in a position to engage in what we call done for you services, meaning basically we have a conversation and then we do everything else for you. So we're going to be launching that in January, and that's frankly because of market demand. I mean, I've had people beating my door down asking me to just please, we need coaching, we need consulting, and so we're just going to do that in a group environment.
It's brilliant, and then you can scale your business. Because do you find that you can serve more by offering them a second option now? Is that why you're doing it?
Yeah, and that's the big thing is we are very big believers just as a company in small business, and whether that's solopreneur or just a couple less than a dozen or so employees, and so we have so many people who can benefit from using LinkedIn more effectively. And it does give us another offering. And so, there's obviously a financial benefit, but the big thing for us is it's where our heartstrings are. I mean, that's, if I have a business consultant or somebody who's running a smaller agency and they say, hey, I'd really like to be able to use LinkedIn more effectively for my business, but the investment that it would take to have you guys do it for me is just not feasible.
Right.
Then it gives us another way to be able to help somebody. And that's really what we're all about.
Well, then you're congruent throughout this 20 or so minutes we've been hanging out, because we started off with one of your favorite quotes by one of your favorite thought leaders, and that was, you can have anything in life you want as long as you help enough other people get what they want. So by offering the done for you, and now soon to be offering in the new year, a group approach to that, so it's more, it's a different offering, and it's more hands-on. You're being able to help a lot more people that way. That's brilliant. Consistent with what your core values are. That's fantastic.
Zig is my man.
Yeah, he was pretty. Did you ever meet him?
I met him one time, but it was after he had the fall. So whenever later on in his life, he had that fall that he had that caused some cognitive challenges. And so I met him one time in Knoxville, Tennessee. And he was still, even then, it was just a powerful thing for me.
He was a pretty amazing individual. I actually got to see him. He came here where I live in Calgary, Alberta, Canada. It wasn't winter though. And I remember about him. This group was the organizer of this. The reason he was here was a fellow who used to bring in, Jim Rohn's, Zig Ziglar, Brian Tracy, and whoever was popular back then, and the thought leaders are still impact us today. Jim Rohn said it best: the 80-20 rule. 20% of the people got him done for you kind of approach, and then 80% that couldn't fit into that got him in a group situation, and then you could buy his books from cassettes back in those days from the back of the room. So Zig came to the front of the room, and if I had him been thinking, I would have made one up. But if you go and look for it on Google, you'll be able to find what I'm going to talk about. So he had his assistants pass out this round disc, and he said, I won't do his accent because nobody can do his accent except for him. He said, the trouble with people today is that someday they'll get around to it. So he handed this round thing to us, and on it said TUIT. He says, now that y'all got one, there's no excuses. You got around to it, so go do it. And then he started his talk. So it was very inspirational after that. That was a thing that stuck with me all these many decades ago.
That was actually one of my first business cards. Was I had a round to it put up or made up? Yeah.
Cool. Hey, look at this.
The Eric Bam.
I know he said I've got a blazer on, so this is a serious interview. He also has another comment here too. What's he saying here? Eric is saying that Phil has a blueprint to grow your business, just not your kids. That's fair. That's fair. I do have some ideas though. I've had as many as 19 kids every hockey season when I was coaching hockey, and we were a traveling team, so we traveled and had to look after them. And many of the parents weren't even with us. Matter of fact, we wouldn't even let them on the bus because the team was a team and the parents were outside of it. So that's another story. But that's a whole other. We could do a whole show about that experience. It was a wonderful experience. And then the great Ron Goodwin has a recommendation. I don't know if we'll get it all. There we go. You want to read that out for me? Just a book.
Yeah, it's I think it's Clockwork: Design Your Business Itself. It's an ebook. So yeah, I'll have to check that out, Ron. Thank you for that.
Cool. That's your website. We've had it there on the bottom here for a little bit. That's where people can find out more about you. And if they wanted to email you, I've got that here too. Let me just dance around to where did I put that? Here it is right here. It should just pop right in there. What's been the biggest challenge you've faced as an entrepreneur?
Outside of the changes of coronavirus, I would say, honestly, it's been my headspace, is making sure that I am putting the right kind of mindset material in so that I have it mentally readily available. I'll find myself, I'm a doer, and my wife would call me a task-oriented individual. Mm-hmm. And so sometimes I can let myself get caught up in the doing and not remember that if I'm not keeping my mind healthy, that it doesn't matter how much I'm doing. I think, that's exactly. Reflective thinking journals will be something I need to implement. To quote Zig again, just because I've been listening a lot to him here lately. He says, "You're what you are and you're where you are because of what you've put into your mind. You can change what you are. You can change where you are by the process of changing and selecting deliberately what goes into your mind." And so when I think of that, that's something that I have to keep myself very accountable for. And one of my business partners is actually somebody who I've started utilizing as an accountability of, hey, have I fed me today? Because if I've not fed me, it's very difficult to feed anybody else.
Yeah, that's like one of the first things they tell us when we're flying. If in emergency, put your own mask on first, because you can't help anybody else if you're not in a good state. So that's really, really good advice, and great that you've got a business partner that can do that. Reflective thinking journals for me have been a game changer. I encourage people to capture all the good, the bad, and the ugly, and then go back over a period of time and reflect on the trends that are happening there. And then you get to decide, is it something I want to change? Or if it's something I'm not interested in. If it's not anything you're interested in, get out of your thought process and forget about it. If it's something you want to do something to make the change happen. On another live stream, I saw something and I leveraged this. I was inspired to come up with this. I had seen it with the S part was different, but because I don't just work with salespeople, I changed the last part. So yes, as you expect success. And as a really amateur improv performer, I basically took 12 weeks of training to become better at improv presentations. And one of the keys to good improv is say yes to everything. If you say yes to life and yes, you expect success, then life is a little bit easier than if you choose the opposite. So the garbage in, garbage out stuff, this is really ties in with that.
Yep, absolutely.
And all of those things do these. I didn't put these in premeditated. These are things that I look at and think about on a regular basis. So I'm just sharing them with you and the audience because you've touched on some of those things with us. And you've taken your mind and you've come up with creative solutions to provide services to your client base. And it sounds like you're knocking some of them out of the park. I mean, to have a constraint like they don't have enough bandwidth for their audience to come and join them. They had to do multiple webinars. Oh, what a terrible problem to have. The worst side of a webinar and only a few people show up. That's the worst part, right? So that's fantastic. Is there anything else that you would like to share with entrepreneurs in and around what you do and or what we could do as entrepreneurs?
Yeah, I mean, the one thing this is a resource that anybody can get access to. We have spent about the last 3 or 4 months developing an assessment, totally free assessment. Anybody can take it. If you go to linkedquiz.com, LINKED quiz.com, what this assessment is all about is taking you through a process to get some information about how you're currently using LinkedIn. And at the end of that assessment, you'll get a rating. You'll get a free report that will tell you what that rating means, some common mistakes and pitfalls that may be made. And then at the end of that, there's a free offer for a training that I did that was recorded that walks people through how to build that foundation for their LinkedIn marketing systems. And so it's completely free offer. We've been working to build it because a lot of business owners are saying, that we have heard a lot of the feedback we've gotten was like, we just don't know where we're standing. We don't know where we're at. And so, we put a lot of work and time into developing that, and then you can go to that and it'll walk you through it.
So give it to me one time, talk a little bit slower, and I'll type it in and put it on the banner so it's in the video.
Yeah, it's linkedquiz.com.
Well, that's
LINKED quiz.com.
See if this is right.
Right on the money.
There you go. So if you go there, you can have access to a LinkedIn assessment tool that helps you identify where you're at. And there's a complimentary video that you opt into to have some information to serve you. And if you want additional information from this young up and coming millionaire, I think he's a millionaire already.
I totally agree. I got to make sure the bank realizes it, but I totally agree.
Well, it's like this device. I heard another Bob Proctor talk about this a lot. This is a smartphone, right? Where has this been all this time?
Right in somebody's head.
Well, or up there in the universe. And it came down here. I have been involved with selling mainframe technology, where you had to have a climatized room, air pressure, humidity, Freon in case there was a fire, put it out instantaneously. It will kill you if you're in the room, sucks the air right out of your lungs. You know what? As much as, and it had like 300 or 400 people to operate it. You had the tape drive people, and you had the hard drive people, and you had the programming. It's just on and on and on. But you could never take a picture with a mainframe. You could never send a text message. Couldn't even make a phone call. So there's more power in these things today than there are in those mainframes that I sold back in the 90s.
Oh, yeah.
Everything is possible, but not all at the same time. And we just need to have the inspired action, which is what you've done, young fellow. And that's why I'm happy that you were able to fit your time and fit us into your schedule to share some of your wisdom. And if you want to find out more about him, go to his website, connect with him on Facebook, go to LinkedIn, and see what he can do to help you. Thank you for being here. I really appreciate it. I look forward to getting to know you even more, and much success to you and all of those you serve.
Thank you so much, Phil. Appreciate it.
You're welcome. And if you're trying to get a hold of me, my stuff has been right behind me the whole time. The Business Renovator, Phil at coachphil.ca, and coachphil.ca is my website. Number of free resources there, blogs, posts that I've done, and some free resources to help you do some assessments in and around your business processes. Coach Phil is saying all the best to you. We'll talk to you next time.